Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Liam here, and in today's video we're taking a look at the new Fujifilm GFX100RF. Now this is the latest medium format mirrorless camera put out by Fujifilm, and unlike the previous models, this one actually has a fixed lens. But before we get into all the details about this new camera, let's go ahead and roll the intro. Okay, so as I mentioned before the intro, today we're taking a look at the Fujifilm GFX100RF. Now you're looking at this camera and I'm sure you're thinking, wait, I've seen that design before. Well, you wouldn't be wrong, because you'll notice it looks a lot like my Fujifilm GFX100V. Just like the 100V, the RF100 is a fixed compact camera, except this one is medium format, where this one is APS-C. So let's go ahead and look at the overall design of the camera. It's equipped with a 35mm f4 lens, and in 35mm full frame field of view, this would equate to a 28mm and about an f3.2 depth of field as far as the aperture is concerned. Now you'll notice that on the back of the camera, a lot of its designing and styling is similar to the GFX100. X100V. We have a lot of the same controls. We have our joystick here. We have our menu OK button. We have our display back button. We have our play button. And we have our drive button. Over here we have our AF selector between single, continuous, and manual. And then we have our AF/AEL lock. We have our rear command dial, but we have a new vertical command dial, and I'll get into that in just a little bit. Now on the front, again, it looks very much like the X100V. It has a rocker switch here. However, unlike the X100V, this one does not have a hybrid viewfinder. There's no OVF/EVF. It is EVF only. But this is a programmable lever, and you can program it to do one thing when you pull it this way, something different when you push it this way. You can push the center to change the film simulations. That's what I like to set that button for. You can also pull and hold to do a different thing, and you can push and hold to do a different item as well. So this one combo right here gives you 5 customizable programmable functions. Now, and of course on the top we have the on-off button. We have our ISO and shutter speed dial, which is just like the one on the X100V. You lift up to change the ISO. And we also have our exposure compensation dial right here, and a programmable button here in the corner. Now, one thing that is new on this camera is this roller right here. Now, this one cannot be programmed. It only does one thing, and that's zoom, and that's only when you're in photo mode. So it does not do anything when you're in video mode with this camera. And yes, this camera does have video capabilities as well. Now, over here on the side, we have our microphone jack, we have a headphone jack, we have our USB-C for charging and data transfer, and then we have a micro HDMI for hooking this up to a field monitor or something like that. And then on this side, we have 2 SD card slots, which are UHS-2. And so it is nice that unlike the X100V, this one actually has 2 card slots, and you can do sequential recording to both memory cards. You can write your JPEGs to one, RAW to the other, or you can do backup using these 2 cards, and we'll get into that a little bit later on. It comes with this outer cover ring that goes on, as well as the lens hood. And if you put a filter inside the front element here on the front element, just like with the X100V, that weather seals it. And just like the X100V, the aperture control does have a little nub on each side you can easily grab with your fingers, so that you can turn the aperture to whatever setting you want. Similar to the design on my X100V, you'll see it has those nubs as well for controlling the aperture. Now, as I mentioned a moment ago, this does not have the hybrid OVF/EVF like my X100V has. However, it does have a beautiful 5.76 million dot EVF, which is going to give you excellent colors, clarity, all of that. It's 100% coverage, so you don't have to worry about that there. And if you set it on boost mode in the menu, it'll do 100 hertz refresh rate, which is spectacular. Now, the rear LCD is a three-way tilting one, and it is a touch screen, and as you can see there, it's nice and thin. It's 3.2 inches in size and 2.1 million dots, so definitely not a viewfinder to sneeze at as far as that goes. Now, this camera is just, in my opinion, it's fantastic. It feels great in the hands. It's not bulky, it's not super heavy, and it's very compact and easy to carry with you. Fujifilm does give you this beautiful padded rope strap to go with it, so it makes it easy to carry it all day long for street photography or landscape photography. Now, unlike the X100VI, this does not have built-in image stabilization. So if you're going to be doing landscapes or something like that, you're definitely going to want to have it on a tripod. Now, if you're doing street photography, any other kind of photography with it, it's not that big a deal because you can always turn up your shutter speed so that you don't have to worry about handshake as you're holding the camera, and you can get nice, crisp, sharp, perfectly focused images that look fantastic even when handheld. So nothing to worry about as far as that goes. Now, I do love that they give us a square lens hood with the camera. The X100V did not come with one. It came with a regular cap, as you saw in my earlier segment. I did purchase an aftermarket square one that tapers in instead of out because of the fact that my X100V does have that OVF, and I do like to use it quite a bit, especially when I'm doing street photography. Now, another thing that the GFX100RF has in common with my X100V is it does have a built-in 4-stop ND filter system so that you could use it to take, you couldn't go super slow on the shutter, but you could probably go about a quarter shutter to get that dreamy look with a waterfall, or get the smooth glass look with a body of water like a lake or river or something like that. And another thing it has in common with the X100 line is the lens also has a built-in leaf shutter that's capable of 1/4000th of a second. So if you wanted to use this camera for a portrait and you were outside on a bright sunny day like today, you could set the shutter at 1/4000th of a second, plug in a mono light, and use that as a fill light to get your subject so that you can knock down the brightness in the background and have their face properly illuminated at the same time. Now, one of the things I really like about the GFX100RF is, just like my GFX50R, it is capable of different aspect ratios. Now, in this particular camera, they give us a new vertical command dial on the back that allows you to switch between the different aspect ratios. And we also have, if we go into the menu and under the settings, go down to surround view, that's where you can set up the aspect ratio view as far as how it looks in the viewfinder. And you can choose between lines to show you your crop, semi-transparent, or blacked out. So let's go with lines just for the heck of it, so it'll be easy to see. Now, the rear command dial starts out on C, which allows you to use your front command dial to change the aspect ratios. But let's go ahead and change them with the actual aspect ratio vertical button on the, or dial on the back of the camera. So we start off, we have 4:3, and then we have 3:2, we have 16:9, we have 65:24, we have 17:6, we have 3:4, we have 1:1, we have 7:6, we have 5:4, and then we're back to the command dial settings so you can control it with the front command dial. And as you noticed, as I flipped through the different aspect ratios, you saw the frame lines change, showing you that anything inside the frame lines is what's going to be your image, and anything outside the frame lines is what's going to be cropped out. So I thought that was a really cool feature to add to this particular camera. It makes it a little bit more fun, a little bit more unique than the aspect ratio settings on the other GFX series camera bodies. Now, another thing this camera is equipped with, of course, is all the beautiful Fujifilm film simulations. So if we go into the menu here, we got standard Provia, we got the Velvia Vivid, Astia Soft, Classic Chrome, Reala Ace, Pro Neg High, Pro Neg Standard, Classic Neg, Nostalgic Neg, Eterna Cinema, Eterna Bleach Bypass, Acros, Monochrome, and Sepia. So we have all those beautiful Fujifilm film simulations that everybody loves, especially me. And if you're going to be shooting video at all with this camera, I would, of course, highly recommend that you choose the Eterna Cinema, which is the same one that's used by default in the GFX Eterna Cinema camera that's also medium format. The thing you're wondering is, can the GFX100RF record video as well as stills? And the good news is, yes, it can. It can do 4K 30p video as well as 1080 full HD 60p video. But to be honest, you're not going to buy a camera like this for shooting a ton of video. It's nice to have the capability should you need it, but it's not something that you're specifically buying this camera for. If you want a medium format cinema camera, then you're better off buying the GFX Eterna professional cinema camera, which is made for professional studio production and things like that. But yes, absolutely, you can shoot video with this camera if you need to, and I'll include a few clips in here as well for you to check out for yourself. Now, in addition to all the other capabilities and features I talked about when it comes to the Fujifilm GFX100RF, the one thing I didn't touch on yet is it can shoot up to 6 frames per second high-speed shooting. And it is possible under certain conditions to get it up a little bit higher than that, I think up to like 8 or 9 frames a second. But to be honest, you don't buy a camera like this for shooting action and sports, especially when it's got a fixed 35mm lens, which again, in 35mm equivalent is a 28mm field of view. So a camera like this, even though it gives incredible image quality and it has fantastic dynamic range, realistically, you're not going to be using this to shoot sports or wildlife or stuff like that. I'm just being practical and realistic with you. But it does have those higher frame per second capabilities. If you really wanted to push it there, that's entirely up to you. So in conclusion, who is the Fujifilm GFX100RF for? Well, it's for anybody like me who likes a high-resolution sensor with a massive dynamic range like this camera has, the 102 megapixels, and I believe it's like 14.5 or 15 stops of dynamic range, which is incredible. But this is a great camera for like travel photography, street photography, those kinds of things. Like I said, it's not for shooting sports and wildlife. This is more a camera for taking your time. All medium formats, in my opinion, are take your time and compose a beautiful shot and then capture it and move on. It'll also, of course, work great in a studio for portraits or product photography or something like that, if you wanted to use that, use it for that as well. So in conclusion, is the Fujifilm GFX100RF a great camera? Absolutely. Now the price is currently up to $5,500, I believe, or $56. It's like $55.99. It was originally $49.99, right under $5,000, but of course with the import tariffs and stuff like that, it's gone up a little bit. So keep that in mind, or shop around a bit. Maybe you can get lucky and find somebody that still has one at the original MSRP of $5,000. If not, even at $5,600, it's not
super terribly expensive. I know some of you are probably saying, Liam, what are you, crazy? That's a lot of money. It is and it isn't. Realistically, the way you got to look at it is in order to get a high capability, high functionality image making machine similar to this with a fixed lens, you'd have to go with like a Leica Q3, and that camera you're talking like $6,500 plus. To get that, it is full frame and it has a 28 millimeter lens built into it. So you'd get the same field of view, but that's only a 60 megapixel sensor where this one is 102. And I believe this one also has a bit more dynamic range. So that is it of wrapping up this video. I want to thank you all for taking the time to watch it. Please remember to subscribe down below, turn on all notifications, and I will see you in the next video.